Okay, here we are, round one of the season. Luckily I've got a 360 camera so I can still get him over there. Welcome everyone, first round at the beginning of the 2020 karting season. We're joined by our boy, Mr. Jimmy Broadbent.
Okay hand emoji.
Okay hand emoji. We're racing today at Buttermore Park, 2-hour endurance race, Shadow Realm Racing, and hopefully we can bring it home with a decent result. We had a good result here a month ago where we actually got a nice trophy. Yeah, it's going to be a very long season, ends back here in November, but we're going to loads of different tracks like...
It's 11 circuits, isn't it? I think so.
Yeah, it's 11 rounds and it's like 7 different tracks I think.
Including, well no, there's 11 plus a special event.
Yes, quite a lot of different tracks. Jimmy will be going to a lot of new tracks, so a lot of learning to do this year.
I think that's a nice way of saying Jimmy's going to fuck me this year.
Yeah, that's the polite way of saying it.
There we go. I mean, this is always... Hello viewer.
Hello.
Hello viewers.
Have we got any aims for the season?
Aims for the season. You know what? I would love a podium. I think we can...
Yeah, I was thinking on the way up here, like, what could we achieve? We're in a higher class, we're in Clubman's. It's going to be a lot harder. There's some really good teams at Clubman's, even though it's like sort of like LMP1, LMP2, GT3, we're like in LMP2 kind of thing.
Yeah.
If we could maybe...
Well, top half of the field sort of thing.
Yeah,
get like, happy with that.
Get a good couple of top 15s, maybe a couple of top 10s, if like really possible. I think those would be some good aims. If we can achieve that at any point during the season, I think we've done well. I'm going to find our car. We're car number 35, Shadow Realm Racing. Where are we? Here we are. So for those wondering, which is probably a lot of you, how the cameras are all mounted. So we have this bit here on the front, but luckily this is a 360 camera as you've seen, so I can flip it around a little bit. But yeah, no helmet cameras this year unfortunately, which is a bit frustrating because I think it was a really good angle. But safety, health and safety, there you go. But hopefully you enjoy it.
See you, mate.
I'll come in after 10 and then we can do a couple of pit stops.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't mind a little time to get warmed up. Okay then, let's see what this bad boy camera looks like out on the circuit. This is free practice before the race, which blends into qualifying. So a 35-minute session here, the last 10 minutes of which are qualifying. We're going out on a cold February winter's morning, and sometimes I do wonder why I bother doing karting in this sort of freezing temperatures. But the first thing you're going to notice here is just how little grip we have, and of course the beauty of the 360 camera is that we can pan it around and have a look at everyone, have a look at myself. There we are. So just warming up the car, hand over the radiator, and you can see how busy we are on the wheel as we come up through the cafe to warm up the car essentially. At this point of practice, we're just trying to get some warmth into the tyres. They are actually brand new Bridgestones, you might have spotted that. So they will provide us grip, but not just yet, not when they're cold. We have to get them up to temperature. Now these sessions, of course, very good for just getting warmed up, not just the car but myself. Sometimes a little bit off the pace, and it's a very good idea to try to get yourself behind someone quick, and that kind of happened by accident, because you can see behind here we have Niki Richardson, the test driver for Club 100, or one of the test drivers, but definitely the best one. Sorry to all the others if you're listening. And this is the chap who used to race against Hamilton back in the 90s. He has a lot of experience and was always very, very quick in karts, always has been. If you can get a lap or two behind this guy, then you're going to learn a thing or two, and that's exactly what I'm going to try and do here. Not that we need a huge amount of practice around Buttermore Park. It's a track I've driven around thousands of times, and that is not an exaggeration. I've been coming here for nearly 20 years, so it's been a long time, but it's always good to just try and pick up a tip or two if we can. You can see there's a big group of karts up ahead, so it's always a good bit of fun as well, trying to dice your way through the pack. And we're going to try to follow Niki through the pack. And the thing I'm learning here is how quickly and how aggressively he turns in to a lot of these corners. So he's making the moves, and I'm just going to follow him through. And the good thing again about this 360 camera, the Insta360 1X for those interested, is you can see in 360 all directions. So that's left, right, up and down. So you can see the foot cam. Look at this awesome angle here as we pan across to see Niki. And we'll just go past him. He's going to come back past us here as we go into hairpin 2. And you see the packet cars behind. We flip it back around. You can see the pedals. So you can see essentially my foot cam. See my throttle input, my brake input as we navigate the circuit. So good to see that as well. So that's the real benefit, of this 360 camera. I'm really glad I bought it, and hopefully you enjoy the footage. So a good couple of laps here with Niki, going through the traffic, and we're going to come in here at the end of practice to hand over to Jimmy. So we did about 7 or 8 minutes, and we're going to hand over to Jimmy, let him have a go, get warmed up in the car, as I think it's mainly important just to get the car up to speed, but then let Jimmy do the majority of the practice to get warmed up. And a lot of the tracks are going to be new to him this season, so he is going to do the majority of the practice laps, I would think. So there's me just changing the camera, so we have to do that because the cameras will run out otherwise. And then we're going to give him a quick push so he can leave the pit lane at a slightly faster pace. There we go, practice done. It's freezing out there, there's no grip. So hopefully he doesn't find that out on the bad.
You be ballast. I think that's the quickest thing we can do.
We'll find out the ballast will be better for the driver.
Just get your pedals. Okay, so ballast, camera, pedals.
Yeah.
Cool? Okay.
Yeah. So you sort of all go around the car.
Drivers in! And let's clear the grid, please! Thank you! Clear that grid! Clear that grid!
Okay, so you may have thought the days of hardcore tyre warming are over, but look at this, they are most certainly not over. Those tyres are hotter than the sun after about 5 seconds of that movement. Bloody hell, that's tyre warming if I ever saw it. Okay, so this is the race start now, or this is the warm-up laps, the rolling up laps should I say. We qualified in 6th place, yes you guessed it, 6th place. The kart was alright, but I couldn't quite extract as much as I would have liked. We're 6th place, we're still at the sharp end of the grid though, so I'm happy about that. So we're just going to try to form up into our position, which can be quite hard trying to get past all the other karts. But then we eventually find it. So 6th place, 3rd kart back on the left hand side, and we are finally there. Okay, so the kart's nice and warm. We're going to try to settle into the race. So you come round Cafe Curve, and you never know when the race might start, so we all go quickly, but you can see the red light on the left hand side, so it's not going to be starting this time. So hopefully on the next time around it will be starting. And again, just looking on the 360 cam, just having a look at all the other cars around me is a really good, unique perspective. I really do enjoy just watching this footage back, seeing all of the cars around me, behind me. I can see things that I couldn't see in the race, of course. You can't see 360 degrees unless you are some weird animal with weird eyes, but I'm not, I'm a human with front-facing eyes. But here we go, enough of that chat. The race is going to begin, the season's going to begin, starting in 6th, immediately up to 5th. Lap 1 of 150, 2 hours of racing begins now. I'm out for the first 40 minutes, down into hairpin 1 for the first time. Getting a little bit aggressive here, bits of contact. I'm up into 5th still. We're going to go up into 3rd temporarily up the inside of these two. But then Jack Goldsmith here with a good run. The pole sitter actually dropping down to 4th, back to 3rd for him. And then we're going to settle into 4th. Okay, so we were in 3rd there, but settling into 4th, that's not too bad. We were 6th across the line. We qualified 6th place. And we move up a couple of positions on this opening lap. So now just trying to settle into the race. That's the main thing. Just don't really want to have any incidents, no mistakes. Just get in to the start of the race. And the main thing here is just field spread. At the start of the race everyone's so compacted together, but the field spread is quite big, so everyone's going to spread out quite quickly, which is the main benefit of qualifying towards the front. Therefore it's just important that we don't do anything silly. You see on the right hand side there people already coming down into hairpin 1, so if we had qualified at the back we'd already be about 15 or 10 seconds behind the lead already. So it just shows you how important it is to qualify at the front. You just immediately gain a lot of time over so many people. So coming down the hill into Paddock Bend here, and again you can see the pedals, so you can get a good idea of where I'm braking and how I'm using the throttle. So So an overtake for the lead. That's Ognjen of Titan Motorsport. So Titan Motorsport were the Premier champions of last season, so they're in the lead of the race here. And Jack Goldsmith here, really quick driver, and he's also in Clubman. So let's remind you that I'm in the middle class with Jimmy. We're not in the so it's Premier, Clubman, and then Inter. We're in Clubman in the middle class, and it doesn't really matter about our position overall. What really matters is our position in our class. That's really what's going on here. As there's a change for second, we're going to make the most of it as well. That's Greg Bernard getting shoved wide on the exit hairpin 2, and loses all the momentum, and we're going to go through and take advantage of that. I'm into third place, and again here, just about making the gap to the to as many people behind as possible. So we've got 40 minutes to do essentially here. So I just want to get as big a gap as I can to so many people, and then Jimmy's got a bigger space to deal with and a clearer run. So up into third, it looks like Ognjen in the lead, developing a bit of a gap there after the hustle and bustle of that opening couple of laps. But the main thing here is I'm just going to work with Jack Goldsmith. You can see as we cross the start-finish line, he gave a thumbs up as I kind of bump drafted him. We can do that just to help each other get a little bit closer to the lead and reduce that gap. Down Syme sweep, using plenty of curb over paddock exit, again loads of curb, and this is one of the bumpier circuits on the calendar. Even though they have reworked all of the curbs, they can get quite violent at times. So you can see that there. We have definitely caught up very quickly. And the main thing here I was noticing is the effect of the slipstream, especially here on this day, because it's very windy. It's very windy today, and therefore you get a massive headwind. If you are at the front of the pack, you don't get any slipstream. Those behind do get slipstream. There's a massive benefit to that. Goldsmith goes for the lead, and that's Jenman down to second now. So we're going to sit in third here for now. Thinking about going for the move on Jenman for second, but again, the main thing really that we're trying to do is just build the gap to those behind. It doesn't really matter if we're all together here. That's, it's good if we work together. In many ways, it's like cycling. You go off in a group together, and it doesn't. There's not much point in really trying to overtake each other. You just try and work with each other. That's the main thing. Okay, so we've settled into the race so far. That's good. We will take a look back in just a moment. The race is about to get a little bit more interesting with the weather. You can see that it is a very grey day. It is February. It is the UK. There is always a high chance of rain. And it's very strange, Butmore Park. It seems to have its own climate. There's a car up on the right-hand side, missing a wheel, in fact. But Butmore Park seems to have its own climate. You can't seem to get a weather forecast for this place, an accurate one. You can go to the local places, Maidstone, Chatham, have a look at their forecast, but it's never normally the same as Butmore Park. It just has a mind of its own, the weather here. And some of those clouds do look rather ominous and grey. There's always a chance of rain. As we come up into turn 1, lap number 7, position number 3, as we come down towards hairpin 1, all working together quite nicely here. And you might have just seen on the left hand side there, you might have just spotted that a car just dipping into the pit lane. So the pit lane entry is on the left after the first long right hander, then you skip over to the left hand side, and then the actual entry is on the left there, just as we come down the hill. So when you do a pit stop on this circuit, you actually skip out about half the track. You only actually lose about 5 seconds because of that. So you don't actually lose much time from a pit stop. If you can actually do a well-oiled machine pit stop, then you actually don't lose much time at all. You can actually sometimes get out only like 2 seconds behind where you were. Such is how much of the circuit you cut off. Okay, on to lap number 8. Still going around very nicely. Just churning out the laps. And again, it's all a matter of just trying to create a gap for Jimmy when we come in for our pit stop at roughly the 40-minute mark. So the strategy is 40 minutes for me, 40 minutes for Jimmy. That leaves another 40 minutes, so it'll be 20 for me, 20 for Jimmy. So Jimmy will be doing the last 20. But as with most endurance races, there's no need just to be in the lead right now. It's just about creating the space and just churning out the laps, being consistent, making no mistakes, and coming up to back markers now. This is going to always be an important factor in racing, in endurance racing. You might just be able to see just around the corner here, we have our first back marker to contend with. and that is always going to be something that could potentially throw a spanner in the works. It could also help you, and this is when it's always a good idea to be towards the front of a queue. And Jack Goldsmith actually doing very well in the lead of this race. He's going to come up to the back marker first, of course. Let's see how he deals with it. Up the inside of paddock, gets the job done. A little bit scruffy, but you see we all get backed up a little bit, but we all continue. And I was a bit worried there because I was third in this queue, and sometimes when you come up to a back marker, only realistically 1 or 2 people can get past on the corner. There's always a chance I could have got cut off and might have had to wait half a lap to go past. But on this occasion it's fine. You can see some specs on the camera now, and we're going to take a look behind as Ian Blake comes through from Ministry of Speed. So we drop down to 4th, and just have a look at the change of conditions here. You can see the specs on the lens. The rain has begun to come down, and it will affect the way that we have to drive. As we come down the hill here, you can see I'm way off the apex of the corner, as the levels of grip just completely changed, and it's really difficult to judge. As we come into Garda, Ian actually just makes a mistake. It looks like he had his left wheels on the white line, and the white lines seem to have a lot less grip than the actual tarmac, so you don't really want to go across those too much. And as we come through at the end of lap 10, cross for the beginning of 11, I'm going to take a look behind here. As I take a slightly wider line, you see Greg Bernard, kart number 5, very close behind as we go into hairpin 1. And this is the beauty of this camera, just the fact that we can have a look behind to see how the pack was developing. You can see that the cars behind are beginning to spread out a little bit. And look at this wider line through hairpin 2. That is mainly the line you have to take in the wet conditions. And you can see how much has changed the race now. As we come down the hill, I get really wide here. Greg tries to go around the outside and actually does a really good job of it. But he goes in narrow into paddock, and you see there, that's not really the line you want to take in, as it really compromises the speed on the way out. So we get the job done on the exit. So this race has just been completely changed by the weather, and we run slick tyres. We don't change onto wet tyres. You just have to drive with what you've got. And I'm on slightly on the back foot now, as the top 2, Jack Goldsmith and Genman, just beginning to drive away. And I would fully admit right now that mixed conditions are not my strength. When it's changing like this, I do find it difficult to gauge exactly how quick I can and can't go, and exactly what the line is. Usually I need someone in front of me as a reference, and then I can kind of copy what they're doing if what they're doing is right. Hopefully it is, but it isn't always. You see Ian going a little bit deep there, and he's going to go quite far to the right here, and this is exactly what Greg did, and he's going to get a poor exit, and I'm going to cut him back, kind of similar to the last lap, and go back up into 3rd place. So Jack, Genman, top 2, both doing a really good job here of judging these conditions, as I've probably been dropped by a good couple of seconds, but I'm just hoping that the karts behind have also been dropped by me. But at this point, I think there's quite a queue of karts behind me, as I haven't quite judged this quite as I would have liked. Quite deep into hairpin 1. You might have just spotted as you went into hairpin 1. You might have seen that Titan Motorsport went into the pit lane. So we will gain 2nd place in just a moment as we come down the hill. And there's another car on the left hand side going into the pit lane as well. It's coming down the hill and managing to take the curve that time there as well. Moving up into 2nd as we go past the pit lane. So it is beginning to dry out a little bit. It does dry really quickly. If it stops raining and you've got 34 karts all lapping the circuit, then it does dry out quite quickly. As we come up the hill for the 13th time and cross the start-finish line, and we're gonna skip it forward 1 lap here, because this is where some carnage begins to happen. Seems like a real-life R4M member tries to assassinate me into hairpin 1, and out of nowhere, boom! I don't know how I saw that coming. Obviously, I don't have 360 vision in real life, but I kind of just braced for it and managed to withstand the assault. Looked like just a bit of a misjudgment going into that corner. But thankfully we keep going. Still in 2nd here. We're doing a good job. Still about 3 or 4 seconds at least away from Goldsmith in the lead, who's doing a really good job driving away from the pack. In fact, he's probably more than that ahead now. He's probably about 6 or 7 seconds ahead by this point. And we try to catch up with him the best we can, but these conditions again aren't my favourite. We come up the hill. You might have noticed my white helmet as well. I'm going to get it painted this year. I do have a designer currently actually sorting out a design for me, so hopefully it won't be too long before that is sorted. And we are going to get some suits, some Shadow Realm Racing suits, myself and Jimmy, which should look really nice. And again, a massive thank you to the sponsors who will be helping us out financially with our suits and with the racing. You know, sponsors make racing possible, so a big thank you to them as well for helping us out. Well, we're going to come up to the end of this stint now. Now the problem was for me, I was having a little bit of an issue with this camera. The SD card dislodged itself on lap 19, and therefore I couldn't record anymore. My stint here was about 50 laps long, so I couldn't quite record the whole thing. A little bit frustrating, and hopefully by the next race I will have that all sorted for you. But yeah, this footage is going to end here, at least on this camera, and we'll pick it up in just a moment. Okay, so we pick it up a little bit later, and this is about an hour into the race. There's Jimmy just flying down the hill in his brand new lid, looking really good. And if we take a quick look at the leaderboard, we are currently 8th in class. 8th overall and 4th in class. Okay, so I've just gone out for my stint. My camera fell off. It just completely fell off at ahead of 2. In my second stint, I'm going to go up to GoPro camera, so this video is going to be all over the place. So sorry for that. 3 minutes to go until Jimmy is coming in and I'm going out. So I need to record this quickly. We're about 10 seconds away from the podium in London, our class. We lost 20 seconds because of a battery failure, which is really frustrating. Which is beyond our control. We probably would have still be in the lead or in the lead of our class, but right now, hopefully we'll bring back our podium. Okay, so we're going to go out for our second stint now. This is 1 hour and 20 minutes into the race, out of a 2-hour race. And yes, a very different perspective. As I said, my camera actually fell off. Now I really fastened it onto the car as tightly as I could and as securely as I could, but I suppose you can never guarantee anything with these mounts and with the bumps of the circuit. So we're just going to do a lap or two here, as this footage is, it actually makes you realise how much worse it is compared to the 360 cam. And one thing you're going to notice is the changing conditions. You can see the sky, we've got patches of blue coming through, the sun's actually trying to break through the clouds, and the track actually just looks a lot nicer. It's definitely fully dry now, and it does make it a lot easier. But I didn't have much luck with this camera either. So my first camera fell off at hairpin 2, and the same fate is going to behold my second camera. I'm using the GoPro Hero 7 here, and I'm going to, it's basically the same thing is going to happen. Very frustrating, and I do apologise for the upwards angle as well. We're going to skip it forward here a little bit. So lap 109, we're getting well towards the end of the race, so quite a lot of karts to contend with here, and this is the main thing, of course, up the inside of the paddock. The main thing of the race is just dealing with back markers, dealing with traffic, and then just churning out fast and consistent laps wherever possible and minimising mistakes. Okay, so up the hill for the 109th time in the race. Now this is close to where it happens. We're going to come up the hill, round turn 1, fast sweeping right-hander, and this is what it looks like when your camera basically gives up on you and wants to go for a bit of bowling into hairpin 2. So I kind of juggled my own camera for a little bit there, but we'll have to try and retrieve it off of that guy later on, alongside my other camera as well. Thankfully we got some external footage here, as you can see me lapping in kart number 35, there we are, and doing a nice job so far in the race. So the race, going really well. Happy about the positioning. We'll have to retrieve my cameras at the end, see how they fared from the carnage of being lost on Hairpin 2. But we're going to come into the pit lane in just a moment and hand over to Jimmy for his final 20-minute stint, and from there is basically him just trying to bring the race home. And of course, as always, do check out his channel if you haven't heard of him already, which I'm guessing you probably have, but some of you may not have. As I'm going to put my thumbs up there. There it is. There's the signal. I'm going to be coming in this lap, and we're going to be handing over to Jimmy. And there is Jimmy, who is now going to bring the race home, hopefully, for us in Shadow Realm Racing. Right, 5 minutes to go. Another camera fell off. I'm not having a lot of luck. This season could get very expensive if all my cameras keep falling off. Are we still in third in class? Shadow Realm Racing, we're in 9th overall, and we are third in class. So we're on for a podium, even with the 20-second loss from the pit stop because of our battery failure, which was beyond our control. So 4 minutes left now. Hopefully Jimmy can bring it home, and it's a podium on our first round. Right, so just quickly look at my cameras, which fell off at Hairpin 2. Third in class. Yes. Yeah, really good. How did you do?
P2. Oh,
Yes,
sorry.
Right, so I had 2 cameras today, both fell off. Not very successful, but of course you can always watch Jimmy's version of the video to see how the whole day went. Oh, that's not mine.
I think that's ours.
All right, there's another one up there which I've lost as well. Safely up against. Yeah. There it is. All right, let's see. It works. It works.
Damn, we're gonna have a video.
Right. No SD card.
Might just come dislodged.
Something's. Wait. Yeah. I can't see how it could have got out, but. Jimmy did so good out there. He, I think half of it was his lid. He looks really good in that new helmet, but he drove. He was really confident. He didn't make any mistakes. Just consistent. So that bodes well going forward. Of course, he's got to learn a lot more tracks this year. This is his best track probably. Let's go and see him, I think.
Well done, Jimmy. Looking forward to a good video, mate. Hold it out. Come on, John.
Right, gentlemen, together, please. Okay, and then just hold it straight towards me. Jimmy's like, get me in. Got me inside. Hold the mate out like that. Point towards the camera with them.
That's it.
There you go.
Lovely.
One more time. Thank you.
Fantastic. Well done. Another ripple of applause, please, for our top 3 Commons. And 3 to go, ladies and gentlemen, and they should be, as they should be, at the top of the pile. 3rd overall, 3rd in class. Team number 1, Titan Motorsport.
Okay, there we go, the end of the first round. And we've got a podium. Awesome result. Both my cameras are intact, they work. They're a bit battered, but luckily I've managed to retrieve them. But hopefully that doesn't happen again, because that will get expensive. But anyway, Jimmy drove awesome today. He doesn't have much experience in karting, but we brought it home in 3rd in class, 9th overall out of more than 30 karts. So it's a really good start to the season. We said it earlier that we wanted to get a podium, we wanted to get into the top 10, maybe beat the Inters, and we did all 3 of those today. So a really good start to the year. I hope you enjoyed the video. Do let me know your thoughts on it, of course, and always go and look at Jimmy's version of the video over on his channel. I'll link it in the description below. But in the meantime, thank you so much for watching. Do leave a like and subscribe for more if you're new to the channel, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.